that's gonna make it out. Zion, only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remedy. We at the end and we feeling it. We the sand of the sea, but a remedy. Shall return to the word when they hearing it. We the sons of Israel. Our word will never fail. Baptized in Jacob's well. Holy Spirit ain't playing for real. When you get protected, he's sending them plagues. I'm trying to make sure that he's seeing rain. All in my life, all in my head, all in my walk, all in my legs. You don't got that blood, you walking dead. Walk as he walk, we should live what it say. Only a remedy gonna be spared. Only a remedy gonna be spared. Abba gon' get us out of these countries. Abba said, let me see who really want me. Forsaking our houses, forsaking our money. We got that signal from heaven, he coming. Drinking his cup, nobody running. Flesh getting weak, but the spirit is gunning. We see the prophecy, we know he coming. We see the prophecy, we know he coming. But it's only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return.
That's how my heart yearns for you. And the sun died for you. Yes, it's true, yes, it's true. You didn't have no clue. That's because nobody told you. They couldn't afford to, cause you monkey like you Goku. It ain't like nobody owed you. We broke the law and they sold you. We did this all to ourselves, Jacob. Now it's the time that you know the truth. You don't know you so special. You don't even see what's next, though. So we cry. Only remnants gonna make it out of here alive. Please repent my people, cause we at the end of time.
Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. Only you remedy, 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 only you remedy. When is my people gon' learn? If you don't come back, you gon' burn. We take it, the scriptures confirm. It's time for my people return. It's time for my people return.
Good morning, Facebook Live. Good morning, Breaking Strongholds Ministries. Good morning, YouTube with Orlando, keeping it simple. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope your week has been a great week. I hope the Most High truly have blessed you over and abundantly with love, kindness, and joy. I hope the Most High really truly have blessed you with wisdom and knowledge and understanding of His Word. I hope He has really truly, have given you all the desires of your heart. I really truly hope he has. I hope the Most High really truly hope he has. I hope he has blessed your offsprings with love, kindness, and joy, with wisdom and knowledge and understanding. I hope the Most High really truly have blessed your offsprings. My week has been an okay week. Not saying that you care, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. My week has been an okay week. Basically this week I've been doing a lot of preparation, of preparing. I've been helping other people purchase weapons and giving them advice on what weapons to buy. I've been helping people train, or I did some training yesterday. And I just been, just trying to prepare for whatever's to come. That's what I did this week. Just basically trying to prepare myself for what's to come by helping people and giving them advice. Not saying that I'm the best person to give advice on something, but what I did was show people what I had and ask them what they're trying to do and then go from there. I do believe in protection. I do believe that. I do believe in training yourself. I do believe in getting yourself prepared for what's to come. I do believe in that. So that's how my week been. I did some good training yesterday, but I kind of realized something, and it's basically training, but they use it and they manipulate it to make it seem like it's a competition, but it's about training on how to deal with things, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with people who've been held hostage. It's basically training, but they use it as a competition. So let us go ahead and get started this morning. What kind of tea you made for me this morning, Sharon?
It's not a tea.
What is it?
It's a cleansing water.
Okay, what it is? What's in it?
Lemons, garlic, a clove of garlic, lemons, some ginger, and apple cider vinegar, and 2 drops of oil of oregano.
Why you put the 2 drops of oil of oregano in there? Don't forget you gotta talk loud. I don't know if they can hear you. Why did you put the oregano oil in there?
Spirit, Most High told me to.
What does oregano oil do for you?
It helps cleanse. It helps with the digestive system. It helps to break down.
You gotta
it
talk.
helps to break down impurities.
Okay. Don't be looking like that, because you may be talking, they may not hear your voice. And when I ask you to speak up, I'm asking you to hear, so they can hear your voice. That's why I do that. Let us go ahead and go to Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. And the reason why I tell them that, because they may want to know what I'm drinking today. Some people have told me, I like what Sharon be fixing for you. So I tell them what you fix.
Okay, so that's a cleansing water.
Yeah, okay. And the key point in that is the oregano oil. And if you take 2 drops of oregano, because of I get back to that. Let me go ahead and read this and take care of this first. And El spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy El, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, and thou shalt have no other Els before thee. Before me. And thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. And thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah thy El, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me, and show mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy El in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless. that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah. The seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy El. In it thou shalt not do any works, thou nor thy sons, nor thy daughter, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor. Let us pray. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine to your kingdom, power to your glory forever and ever. So let it be. Amen, amen, amen. While I'm talking, I want you to go ahead and turn to Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30. And it's going to probably be from verses 1 through 10. Maybe 1 through 10, but the key verse is going to be verse 7. 1 through 10. Key verse is 7. Okay, but let me get back to the reason why oregano oil is so important, because it's like an what is it called? Like what is penicillin?
Oh, antibiotic.
Yeah, it's like an antibiotic, right? It's a natural antibiotic, right? So when you take the 2 drops and you can put them up on your tongue every day, and it helps you to keep your immune system going, and it helps you fight off what's going on in your body. So because you got to look at what's going on now, what's in the air. You got the chemicals that were sprayed in Canada that caused the fire to start. And now because it sprayed and causes fire to start, some of the smog from Canada has reached down here to Georgia. And they saying that because of the air quality is not that good, we can what? It can mess with our respiratory system.
Respiratory, yes.
It can mess with our respiratory system and cause us to have some issues.
Respiratory issues, breathing issues, sure.
Right, it can cause us to have some breathing issues. But we started taking oregano oil back in 2020. And it was helping us to be able to fight off a lot of stuff that was going on. It's kind of expensive. But if you can pay for dinner at a Roadhouse or whatever, you can go spend $50 on something. You can go buy you some oregano oil and put 2 drops in your water every day, and it'll help. But you got to understand that it's a lot of stuff going on, and it is there to cause respiratory issues. Because that fire that's going on in Canada, it's affecting New York bad. It's affecting Washington, D.C. bad. It's affecting Georgia pretty bad. It's messing with people's respiratory systems. So that's why I guess the Most High gave my wife that recipe to make me some cleansing water, so that you can keep your respiratory system and your whole body cleansed. Okay? So as we go to Jeremiah chapter 30, I'm reading 1 through 10, but I'm basically going to deal with 7. That's where I'm gonna sit and rest at in 7. Okay? And then it says, Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay? And if I may give a title of the text this morning, a title of a teaching this morning is, we have some difficult times ahead. We have some difficult times ahead. So if you're an active listener to me, I want you to understand the last 3 teachings that I've been teaching on. You can't keep a good nation down, and everybody ain't gonna make it, but also we got some difficult times ahead, and I was contemplating on why the Most High is having me to do this. It's because if you look at history, if you look at anything out of the deliverance, whenever you're coming out of the deliverance, you really got to go through a little bit more difficult time before you can get to the freedom. You got to go through the little bit more difficult time before you can get to the freedom. And this is the difficult part that we're getting ready to come up on. Because they really have some plans out there for us. They put in mRNA into eggs, meat, produce. They put in all this stuff.
The honeybees.
The honeybees. They put in the mRNA vaccine into the honeybees. They putting them into the eggs. They putting them into the meat. They putting them into everything that they could possibly put them in. So we really have to understand what's truly going on in America today, in the U.S. today, around globally, really, globally. So you really got to understand what we're really dealing with. And the 2 words that I'm still going to use from next week is the same as last week. It is save and redemption. The word save means to preserve from injury, destruction, or evil of any kind, to rescue from danger. That's what save means. Redemption means to a buying back or off, or a releasing, a ransom. That's what it means. To buy back means to release, repurchase, deliverance. That's what it means. So, when we understand that save means protection and redemption means to be released, but in order to go through that process, get to those things, in order to be saved, you got to be in a certain condition to be saved from something. In order to be redeemed or released from something, you got to be in a condition to be released from it, be in captivity. Okay? So when you're looking at the book of Jeremiah, right? And you're looking at what Jeremiah is talking about. Jeremiah is writing this letter, or writing these verses, or this chapter of his book, because this is what the Most High had given Jeremiah to write to the children of Israel, which is the northern and southern tribe of Israel. He wrote these because, he was writing them for the children of Israel, Jacob's offspring, because they was living in a condition of transgressions. They was living a life of transgression. They was living a life of sin, and he was basically trying to forewarn them on what's to come, what's going to happen, what's going to be, and things of that nature. And prophecies are good if they're if the prophets are speaking from the Most High. But you also have some prophets that have been sent but haven't been sent by the Most High. And that's what it says in chapter 29 in Jeremiah, where the Most High never did send when the children of Israel was in captivity. He did not send all the children. He did not send all the people who was prophesying. He did not send all the prophets to prophesy to the people of the children, or to the children of Israel. Some of the prophets that was preaching, they was preaching on their own accord. They was doing it because that's what they wanted to do, not because of the Most High sending them. It says in Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 8, it says, "For thus saith Yahuwah of hosts of armies, the El of Israel, let not your prophets and your divers be that in the midst of you. They deceive you, neither hearken your dreams which ye cause to be dreamed." So what the Most High was saying to Jeremiah, he said, a lot of the prophets that was speaking in Babylon at the time of your captivity, Jeremiah, I did not send them. They chose to be in that position. They put themselves in that position. I did never talk to them. I never spoke to them. That's what the Most High was saying to Jeremiah. So now when you look at our present day and time, if you look at our preachers today, a lot of the preachers that we have today, the Most High didn't send them. And the Most High, and the reason why the Most High didn't send them is because he know that he didn't send them, period. And the reason, and he's upset because the preachers who say, I was anointed by the Most High, he's upset because he know that he didn't send them, but the people are listening to them and being deceived by them. That's why the church, you really don't hear a lot about the church no more. The churches seem like, the church is quiet on a lot of issues. You don't hear about the church no more. You don't hear the church voicing their opinion. You don't hear the church coming out. You don't hear the church speaking on any issues anymore. It's like the Most High really have shut the church down because you don't hear of the church. The church voice is not being heard. And the reason why the reason why you may not hear from the churches anymore, because they were deceiving people for a long period of time. The church deceived a lot of people for a long period of time. And I was looking at this YouTube, this TikTok video yesterday where this guy recorded his wife having an affair with a preacher. And the wife did not, the man who's recording the video, his wife did not see it as a big issue, having an affair with the preacher, who was also married at the time. So when you go to looking at what I'm trying to say, to sum it all up, the Most High, he's saying, I didn't send a lot of these people who are in the pulpit today. And what they're doing it because this is something that they want to do. This is not something that I call them to do. And probably some of y'all are probably saying, well, who called you? Being honest with you, if I had a choice, I would not be doing some of the things that I'm doing. But I know that I'm called because I had an upper room experience that lasted almost 2.5 hours. And I know that I don't do this because I want to do it. I do it because I have to do it. This is something that I gotta do. I have tried to avoid it. I have tried to say, well, no, I ain't gonna do it on this Sabbath. I have tried to say, no, I ain't gonna do it on that Sabbath. But the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh in me, made me do it. Because there's plenty of other things that I would be like, I wouldn't mind doing on a day like today. So when you look at it, you got to understand that the Most High is saying you're gonna have false prophets in this time. You're gonna have these things. You're gonna have people to do things that they're doing. He said that is gonna be your condition. He said that's gonna be what's gonna be going on with you. And in chapter 30, the Most High was still speaking to Jeremiah. He was talking to Jeremiah because Jeremiah had the heart of the people. But he knew that they was going to go through some issues, and the Most High the Most High is the only one that could be able to get the children of Israel out of the conditions that they're in. And the Most High is the only one that could be able to get Americans. I'm going to say this because I want us to understand that the true Americans are the indigenous people of the Americas, of the U.S. is black people. The true Americans in the U.S. are the black people in America. Everybody else is born into, they was grafted in, or they was born by a nation. They become citizens because they was born here, but we are the true citizens. This is our true homeland. So, he was writing these letters and saying, hey man, this is the condition of the people. And he's talking to the children of Israel, and he's getting a promise. But in order to get the promise, you still got a little bit ways to go. You got to be a little bit more patient. But in the midst of you being patient, you got to continue to train. You got to continue to prepare physically and spiritually for what's to come. Okay? So I'm going to read you something out of the Africans who wrote the Bible. I'm going to read you something out of this book called The Africans Who Wrote the Bible. And this was talking about what happened to the Americans during the Atlantic slave trade, or the doctrine of discovery, or when Christopher Columbus came over here to Americas. Okay, I'm going to read you something because we have to understand that we went through that period of time 400 years ago, and it's about over with. But it says the Catholic Church approval of the enslavement of the Africans, and I just take that right now, but it's talking about the native people. It says most of the rest of the European infiltration into the foreign pagan lands was on the Spanish properties. The Catholic Church stepped in to protect its interest in Spanish plunders and exploitation of foreign land by protecting the Spanish from Europeans' incursions into Spanish territories. In 1514, Pope Leo X issued a papal bull forbidding all Western European countries from interfering in Spanish foreign land. Pope Leo X also gave the Portuguese merchants the Catholic Church final permission to openly take Africans as slaves because they were pagans. An issue I have never understood is how could the religious practice of the Africans that migrate, the Africans that image and created the concept of God by paganisms, and the practice of worship of this same God by Europeans would be Christianity, is supposed to be better. What it's basically saying, The Europeans have adopted the African religion, but now the Europeans are saying that because the Europeans that practice the African religion, the way the Europeans do it is better than the way the Africans are doing it. But it's like, how can you do something better than the original? So, because the Catholic Church saw that the way the Americans or the Africans was practicing religion, the Catholic Church said we're gonna sign the papal bull and allow the Spanish people to come and take their land and treat the people the way they want to treat them, because they're not practicing the religion the way we want them to practice religion. Okay, it says the fact it is the same God and sacramental practice of worshiping this God that the Jewish people introduced to the Greeks and Europeans. The differentiation of gods of the Africans from the God of the Christian Europe were based upon early European racism's perceptions of themselves as everything about being citizens are civilized and superior, and everything about Africans being uncivilized and inferior. This racist mentality has taken such a hold on European comparative anthropological thinking that Christianity had to come with an inferior God for Africans and a superior God for Europeans. The God of Christianity is the same God the black people of ancient Egypt that have now moved into inner Africa image, purified and personified and worshipped for thousands of years before the Jewish people that went to Europe to become the Jews and Hebrews introduced this God and his worship to Europeans. So what basically I was reading is the reason why, one of the main reasons why the United States of Turtle Island was invaded is because the Catholic Church allowed the Spanish people to come over here and take over the land because they felt as if the Americans and the Africans' religious practices was no good. It's called the Papal Bull. It's also called a Doctrine of Discovery. Okay, so now when we move to the present time, we're looking at the invasion portion part of it, okay? Okay, let me read you something. New York City to get $104,600,000 from FEMA to asylum seekers. That means that the city of New York is going to get $104,600,000 from people, and they're going to get it for the immigrants that migrated to New York City. It's basically like an invasion. It's basically as if the migrants are getting opportunities to have money that the original New Yorkers are not access to have, are not able to get. And they're putting the immigrants in the same areas of the true Americans or the black people in New York City. I want us to understand something. Those migrants that's up in New York City now, they're there to take the jobs of the black Americans that's up there in New York right now. They're there to take the jobs and get the opportunities that the black New Yorkers are not willing to do, or not paid to do, or not helped to do. They are living in hotels that the United States government are paying for And they're not even willing to help the New Yorkers that are homeless. They're willing to help migrants that came from another country before they were able to even help the New Yorkers that's on the streets today. Okay? So then we look at Chicago. The City of Chicago City Council voted Wednesday to spend $51 million in funding from a 2021 budget surplus to pay for efforts to care for migrants from Central and South America who have been sent here from Texas following a heated debate that was repeatedly disrupted by angry protesters. So those same migrants that went up to New York, some of the same migrants that went to Chicago, and the City of Chicago placed those migrants in the black community in Chicago, and they're helping those migrants to be able to get on their feet in the City of Chicago with $51 million. But they're telling their citizens in Chicago that we're not willing to help you with this $51 million, but we're going to be willing to help the migrants that comes from Central and South America with this $51 million. And they're now expecting that these people in the Chicago area, and they're expecting these people in New York, the real citizens of these countries, these countries, not to really get upset about what they're doing. But it is actually a design plan to suppress and to hurt and harm the cities in which those migrants live in. Yes, I call New York a country. Yes, I call Chicago a country, or the state of Illinois is a country, because if the U.S. is considered to be a continent, how can Georgia be a state? It has to be a country on a continent. But we've been told that's another topic for something totally different. But anyway, I want us to understand, because where these migrants are placed in the black community, it's going to make it more difficult for those blacks in those communities to be able to prosper, because they are not getting assistance from the same governmental system that are helping these migrants, and these governmental systems place those migrants in those same cities. But it's helping the migrants and not helping the city. I hope you all understand what I just said. But if it's not, y'all probably understand what I'm talking about. So now when you're starting to look at that, even with the papal bull, even when the Catholic Church sent those Spanish people over here to Turtle Island or the U.S. or the Americas, it was to take the land from the original citizens of the land and give it to the Spanish people. And all the Central and South American people are Spanish people. So when the Catholic Church sent the Spanish people over here to take the original land from the original people, it was chaos and commotion and conflict, because the people was trying to defend their land, but the Catholic Church helped the people take the land. So now when the United States sent the Spanish people to New York and Chicago, they're intentionally sending those people in those same areas to take the land from the people that originally lived there. And you're not expecting for those citizens in those lands to be upset and want to fight and want to do whatever you can do to those people because they know that they are invading their cities. And they're invading those cities because the government allowed it, the Catholic Church allowed it to happen. We have some difficult roads ahead. Because the people in Chicago are very upset because the government intentionally placed those people in South Chicago in the black people's community. Just like when I was looking at the mayor up in New York, he had a number of black preachers standing behind him co-signing this deal that he signed for the migrants to come into the community. Understanding that he knows that it would impact his own people's community. But in Jeremiah chapter 29 it said, "For thus saith the Yahuwah of hosts, the God of Israel, let not your prophets or your divers that be in the midst of you deceive you. Neither hearken to your dreams which ye cause to be dreamed. For they prophesy falsely unto you in my name. And I have not sent them, saith Yahuwah." Every leader that you see today, majority of the leaders that you see today, the Most High don't have anything to do with them. Because everything that they push out, every law that they try to pass is never for your benefit. It is for everybody else's benefit except for yours. So when you look at your dynamic, you look at your realm, you look at your reality, you look at your conditions here in the United States, even if you vote and you vote for a Democratic Party, you need to do some investigation because the Democratic Party is pimping you just like the Republican Party is pimping the other people. If you vote for a Democrat, you just as crazy and backwoods as the people who vote for a Republican is crazy and backwoods. Because the Democrats are telling you it's okay for you to have your child change his anatomy. When your child ain't number 12 years old, you give your child $10 and tell him to go into the store and buy something. He'll be confused because he don't want to spend the money that he got. And he ain't going to know what to buy with it. So now you're giving this, the Democratic Party saying it's okay for your child to change his anatomy at the age of 10 years old. You supporting that. I do not have any problem with people who choose to be with the same sex because I know it's a lot of issues with those people. And I have relationships with people like that and I love them because I don't know their problems. I don't know their issues. I don't know what they're dealing with. I know that it was chemically, biologically put into water, in the water to change people's orientation. I know that we've been up under a chemical attack since we've been here. So I love the community. I treat them with respect. And if I could do something for them, I will. Because I don't understand what they've been through. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if they was chemically changed or they was raped when they was young or whatever the case may have been. But if you vote for a Democratic Party because you progressive, what does the word progressive mean when you coming down voting? How does progressive help your community? So when you voting that way, you better think and do your research. You better do your research. But these people here are really, what's happening now is no different than what happened almost 400 years ago. with the papal bull and the Catholic Church invading the people's land and trying to take it. But when we go to Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 1, we got to understand that this is some things that's gonna happen, but we got some reassuring times ahead. This is why I've been talking to people about getting your guns, your ammo, your weapons together. You better get your training together, because it's no joke what's going to happen. It's got to be this way. And if you're not preparing yourself for it, you're going to be in deep trouble. You're going to be the ones that don't take heed. You're going to be the ones like last week that you can't save all of them. No matter how much I talk blue in the face, if you're not getting gun training, you're not preparing yourself, if you're not with food, water, first aid, if you're not trying to grow no garden, if you're not trying to do that for yourself, when all this stuff breaks out, you're going to be in trouble. You need to quit thinking that somebody's going to come and save you. No, the same people you think are going to come and save you is the main cause of your conditions. In Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 1, it says, the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah from the word that came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah, saying, thus speak Yahuwah El of Israel, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. The Most High is telling Jeremiah, I'm talking to you about something, Jeremiah, and I want you to write these words in a book because it's very important. I want you to write it down so that you can keep it with you, so you can truly understand what's going on. It says, for lo, the day comes, said Yahuwah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah. Saith Yahuwah, I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. In this verse right here, it's all about a promise. A promise that will be kept. A promise that will be that was given to Israel and Judah only. Those who attach themselves to Israel and Judah can be saved. But no Gentile nation should be teaching the Bible. They should be only Israel and Judah, out of the tribe of Levi. This is a promise, and I want us to understand that what I'm teaching today is prophecy and promises. Prophecy and promise. Prophecy and promise. A prophecy is a foretelling, a prediction, a declaration of something to come. As God only knows future events with certainty, no being but God or some person informed by God can utter a real prophecy. A prophecy is a foretelling, prediction, a declaration of something to come. That's what we need to understand. Okay? Promise. A promise is a solemn pledge, a vow, a declaration in reference to the future made by one person to another, assuring the latter that the former will do. A promise is something that the Most High say it will happen. We're dealing with promises and prophets. Promises and prophecies. Because this is what the Most High said. For lo, the day comes, saith Yahuwah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people, Israel and Judah, saith Yahuwah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. That's a promise and a prophecy. And I want us to stand on that promise and that prophecy that these things are going to happen. But we also got to understand that we got some difficult roads, some difficult times ahead. That's why we got to be in preparation right now. We got to be in a preparation state, preparing state, physically and mentally. Verse 4, it says, and these are the words that the Yahuwah spoke concerning Israel and concerning Judah. Only specifically to Israel, only to Judah. It says, for thus saith Yahuwah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. That is the condition that the Most High heard from the children of Israel and because of Judah, concerning Judah. Now, Judah lives in Chicago. Judah lives in New York. Those people are concerned of trembling. Trembling, the word trembling means anxiety. They stressed out. The people in Chicago and New York and all over the country is stressed out because of these. The Catholic Church and the United States government have allowed these immigrants to come in and take all the money from them that they should be giving to their own citizens. They have anxiety. They're upset because of what the United States government doing and the Catholic Church is doing. Then it says fear. Fear is meaning implications of dreadfulness, because they're thinking, now you're gonna put these people in my community. I don't know what they're capable of doing. I don't know what these people are capable of doing. I know what's in my community when they're not here, but I don't know. You got a lot of Chinese immigrants that's coming, Spanish, Honduras, Ecuador, all these. You don't know their mentality. They just don't have anxiety, but they stressed out. It's dreadful. Because they're saying, how can the government give these people 50 million in Chicago, 100 million in New York, and we don't even know, and we're not getting nothing, and we're homeless, we're broken, we don't have proper education, we don't have a proper place to live. You got people coming over here from Ukraine getting Social Security. And the people are saying, man, what about me? What about me? That's what the people are saying. And it says, and not of peace. They got fear, they got trembling and of fear and not of peace. It's chaos. It says, ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child. It says, ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail. All the faces are turned into paleness. The word travail means pain. Basically, a person to be in pain. That's what it means. That's what it means. A person in pain. That's what travail means. They going through some difficult times. And what you say? Now the smoke in New York are making the people wear the mask again. When they found out that the mask has plastic particles that affects the lungs. It says, ask ye now and see whether a man doeth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail? All faces are turned into paleness and totally disgust because of their condition. People can see the writing on the wall. People can see that this is not good. People can see how can the United States government give all these funds to other people but can't give it to their own citizens. Also, it says, the NAACP say Florida isn't safe for black people. Unfortunately, they're right. This article is out of the Guardian, and it was published when, let me see when I can find the published date. It was published the 25th of May 2023. This is the reason why they say Florida isn't safe for black people. It says Ron DeSantis' war on wokeness is part of a larger effort to make black people feel unwelcome, their identity and their identity un-American. They're identifying as un-American because they become more woke. Because the Most High have taken the fish scales off black people's eyes. Ron DeSantis has gotten mad with black people and says, I'm going to make it hard for you to be in Florida. Because you become woke and the fish scales have been taken off your eyes and you go down to Florida, Ron DeSantis says, I'm going to make it difficult for you because you now can see the true reality. Because of critical race theory. So Chicago is just not being affected. New York is not just being affected. Florida is not just being affected. Mississippi, with the Jim Crow laws, are now increasing crimes in Mississippi are going up because of racial tension in Mississippi. See, we have to understand that what you was telling me about what the Most High said to you about the sticker brows and what you was the patch and whatever.
Oh, he said, tough times are coming ahead, but stay on the journey. Walk through the brow patch. You may get stuck.
What you mean by the brow patch?
The sticky brows.
Okay, what does the sticker brow do to you?
It sticks you.
Okay.
So it's going to feel uncomfortable.
And
he says, stay on the path, stay on the journey, but just continue to walk through the brow patch. That's what he told me this morning.
The brow patch are the thorns.
The thorns, yes.
Yes, the hardships. The difficult times that we may come ahead. Yep. Because yes, we finna get ready to be attacked on all angles. If it ain't from racism, it's from your food. If it ain't from your food, it's from your air. And if it ain't from your air, it's from the water you drink. If it ain't from the water you drink, the food and the air and the water you drink, and it ain't from racism, it's
against people, each other.
Say it loud.
And it's against each other. We're infighting.
Absolutely. So we got to understand that, yeah, we got some difficult times coming at us. I'm asking you to train. If you don't have a weapon, go buy you a weapon and train with that weapon. If you don't have food, I'm asking you to go buy you some food If you don't have no garden, I'm asking you to go get you some pots from Lowe's and put it on your deck, your back porch, and grow you some food. Because they also saying that if the summer gets so hot this summer, if the temperature gets so hot this summer, that the power grid can shut down. And it can shut down. But then my wife and I, we was talking, was like, well, if you just say one person in a household at 6 o'clock in the evening, come home from work, you got 2 kids and a wife and a husband or whatever. They're burning the air condition. They got the TV going. They may have all these appliances going, but this family have an electric vehicle. Imagine how much more energy is that electric vehicle taking away from that house. And how much more, the more electric vehicles we buy, the more it's going to affect the power grid. It's going to affect the power grid. And when it affects the power grid and you got temperatures for 2 weeks, it hasn't rained in almost 2 weeks. So if you don't have no cooling, if you don't have nothing to cool your system down, or the temperature down, and the temperature keep rising to 85 to 90 degrees for more than 2 weeks without no rain, and everybody's burning their air conditioning along with charging their electric cars up, what you think could happen to the power grid? It could be difficult. It can shut down the system. But this is the verse that I really want to deal with. Alas. Verse 7, it says, Alas, for that day is great. The time, that means when it says for that day is great, it's talking about a period of time. It's going to be a period of time where that day is great, means like never seen before. And I want us to go to, let us go to Ezekiel chapter 7. Because I want us to be able to understand, for that time is great. What do they mean by that time is great? Let us go to Ezekiel chapter 7. What do you mean by that time is great? Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 6 through 12. Because we're talking about a period of time. And what does he mean by, and that time will be great? It says, an end is come. The end is come, is watched for thee. Behold, it is come. A time of period has come. The morning is come unto thee, O thou that dwell in the land. The time is come. The day of trouble is near, and not the sounding again of the mountains. Now will I shortly pour out my fury upon you, and accomplish my anger upon you, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense thee for all thy abominations. And my eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. I will recompense thee according to thy ways. And thy abominations that are in the midst of thee, listen to this, and thy abominations that are in the midst of thee, ye shall know that I am Yahuwah that smitteth. All those pastors, those preachers, and all those people who are misleading the people, you're going to get it. Behold the day, behold, it is come. The morning is gone forth, the rod has blossomed. What? The rod has blossomed, pride has budded. Violence is risen up into a rod of wickedness. Violence is risen up into a rod of wickedness. What's going on in Mississippi? What's going on in Florida? What's going on in Tennessee and South Carolina? None of them shall remain. None of the wickedness who produce violence shall remain, nor of their multitude, nor of any of theirs. Neither shall there be any wailing for them. People are going to be glad that those people are gone. But we're talking about a period of time of judgment. A period of time of conflict. Let us go to Zephaniah. Zephaniah 1. through 18. Because this period of time is going to be really great judgment. This period of time is going to be great judgment. Okay? It says the great day of Yahuwah is near. It is near. Haste grace greatly. Even the voice of the day of Yahuwah, the mighty men shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath. A period of time is a great day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness, desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. What's in the skies in New York? Thick darkness. A day of trumpets, alarms against the fenced cities and against the high towers. What's in New York? High towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahuwah, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, their flesh as the doo-doo, the dung. Let us go back to Jeremiah. I just want to, I'm kind of pushing for time. I may not have that much time. I'm trying to push it and get us all back into it. Let's go back to Jeremiah, because we're dealing with a time where it's the Most High is dealing with the people. But we got to understand something. As that day is great, so that none is like it. We're talking about that period of time. So I'm going to deal with the next portion is that none is like it. So it means that you can't compare nothing to what we're getting ready to go through. You can't compare nothing to what we're getting ready to go through. Because you got to understand something. Nobody prior to the modern age or the industrial age was living with lights and running water the way we are now. Depending on the government and the way we depend on the government for. We depend on the government for jobs. We depend on the government for food. We depend on the government for water. We depend on the government for heat. We depend on the government for protection. We depend on the government for everything that we have going on. But if you look back at ancient times, people did not depend on the government the way we do today. So that's why it's going to be so different and so great, because the dependence of the government is so great. It's like me and my wife was looking at this thing that, what you call it, a self-help, or this survival, or this nomadic living. This nomadic living program that we was looking at last week. But it was over in Iran, where people was building their own houses out of what? What they?
Dirt and rocks.
Say it. Make sure you say it loud now.
Dirt and rocks. So
And
you wet the dirt to make a mud putty.
And they was building their own houses by themselves. They did not depend on the government to do anything. They had their own animals, and they was feeding themselves. They was growing their own food, and this was modern time. But it was over in Iran. But over here in America, we are so dependent on the United States for the government for everything. If the lights go out, do you know how much do you know how crazy people gonna be? If the lights go out, that means that you're not gonna have no water. You're not gonna have no way of getting food. You're not gonna have no way of getting heat. You're not gonna have no way to control the air for coolness. You're not gonna. It's gonna be so horrific because we have set ourselves up for failure, being so dependent on the government. That's why it's going to be so great, because if you look at the times that we're in today and the times of modern day time or ancient time, they never depended on the government the way we do. The government took from the people, but the people sustained themselves. But now we're looking for the government for Section 8. We're looking for government housing. We're looking for government food. We're looking for everything from the government. So when it says in verse 7, so that none is like it, man, I can't imagine if the power go out and there's no government, how chaotic it'll be. Because we have been so dependent on the government. It's a setup to fail. So it is time of Jacob's trouble. Understand that when it says it is in the time of Jacob's trouble, it's only dealing with the physical. It says in the companion Bible, it says not Israel spiritually. It says, for it is a natural seed is here in question, not the spiritual. It's talking about the natural people of Israel, of Jacob, talking about the original people. It's not talking about the people who can be attached to Israel or Jacob. It's talking about Jacob himself, his original tribe of people. Talking about Jacob, not nobody else, the black people. Not nobody else, black people. Because we are so codependent on the government for everything that we do. Or the government won't allow this to happen. Or the government won't allow that to happen. Or the government going to do this for us. Or the government going to do that for us. Or the government have been our savior all our life. Vote for the Democrat because they're going to help us. Vote for this because they're going to do that. Everything. Let me give you something. In Genesis, go to Genesis, and I want us to understand when I talk about Jacob, it's talking about the natural branches of Jacob. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Because Jacob is the one that's going to be distressed, not everybody else. Because if you look at the immigrants know how to live on bad stuff. They know how to live a minimalist life. Everybody know how to live a minimalist life except for Jacob to a certain extent. We have been fed something of dependence. And then it says in Genesis chapter 2, 32 verse 7, it says, then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. This is the emotional side of why Genesis chapter 32 verse 7. I said chapter 32. It says, because this is the emotional side, because now what you see going on in New York, people are upset. What you see going on in Chicago, people are upset. What you see what's going on in Florida, people are upset. What you see what's going on in Mississippi, Jacob is upset. What you see what's going on in Tennessee, Jacob is upset. What you see what's going on in South Carolina, Jacob is upset. Okay, and it says, then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, And he divided the people that was with him and the flocks and herd and the camel into two bands. And it says, and he said, if Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. See, Jacob was afraid of the conflict of Esau. Jacob was afraid that Esau would be mad at him because he took his birthright. So now, looking at the modern times, Jacob or the black Americans would be afraid of conflict because of what the governmental system may do to them. That's why I was talking about faint means last week. The word fainted, it means to be afraid, weary, weak, perish, destroyed. Because we have been such a destroyed people, we don't have no confidence to do anything. And let us go to Hosea. Hosea chapter 12. This is the reason why Hosea chapter 12. Oh man. Let me do something. Hosea chapter 12. Verse 2 through 4. And it reads, and Yahuwah has also a controversy with Judah and will punish Jacob according to his ways, according to his doings, will he recompense him. He took his brother by the heel and the womb, and by his strength he had power with El. Yea, he had power over the angels and prevailed. He wept and made supplications unto him. He found him in Bethel, and there he shall speak with us. Even Yahuwah El of hosts, Yahuwah is his memorial. But the trouble, Jacob's trouble is the conflicts that's going to rise up on the earth. And it's going to be mainly against him because of who he is as a nation of people. That's something we got to understand. Let us go back to Jeremiah chapter 30. Let us go back to verse 7. And let us deal with the last portion. But he shall be saved out of it. In this last days that we're in, yes, what we're going to see has never been seen on the earth before. And it's going to appear as if we don't have any hope. Because it appears that we're going to be surrounded and attacked by everybody that's in our community. And if we look at our community today, the Hispanics come in, the migrants come in, the Chinese come in, the Indians come in, the Europeans come in. Everybody come into our community and take from it. Don't deposit, they take from it. Even with all of that, the troubles and the thorns that you're going to go through in life, you're still going to be saved. Because the promise was given to Jacob. The promise was given to you to be saved and redeemed. The promise was given to you. But we will have some difficult times. But we got to walk through the thorns. We got to go through the hardship. We got to continue to make it. But the only way that you can continue to make it through those thorns and all of that, you got to prepare yourself.
That's right.
Physically, spiritually first, and physically second. You got to walk. You got to exercise. You got to buy your weapon. You got to train on it. You got to grow you some food. You got to prepare you some food. Let me take you to one verse, and then I'm gonna go ahead and finish, cause I wanna. Let me take you to two verses. Go to Jeremiah chapter 50, verses 33 and 34. Cause that's what I've been doing. Yesterday I did some good. I did some good training, and I understand now. I did some good training. You got to train. If you have a weapon and don't know how to clean it, something wrong. If you have a weapon and haven't shot it, something wrong. If you have a yard and you ain't growing no food, something wrong. It says, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go. The United States don't want to let us go. Their Redeemer is strong. The host, the Yahuwah of armies is his name. Yahweh of armies is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith Yahuwah, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her prince and her wise men. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith Yahuwah, and upon the inhabitants of the U.S., and upon the princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dot. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. This is what's actually going on right now, but we can't see it. Last one. Go to Psalms 25 and 22. Redeem Israel, O Yahuwah, out of all his troubles. Redeem Israel, O El, out of all his troubles. See, we're going to be redeemed. We just got to go through it. But we got to be preparing. You're going to be saved and protected if you are preparing yourself. But you got to go through it. You got to walk through it. Because we got some difficult roads ahead. We got some. We got to be prepared. Because the time of Jacob's troubles is here. Everybody's surrounding us. Look in Chicago. Look in New York. Look in Mississippi. Look in Florida. Look at Tennessee. Look at South Carolina. Only thing I can say is it really having an effect to Georgia. Because there's more Judah in Georgia than anybody. So let me pray so we can go. Abba, as we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you, we give you all the honor and the glory. Abba, we thank you for who you are and what you're doing and what you continue to do. Abba, we just ask that you continue to give us the faith, the actions of Abraham. Father, we ask that you give us the strength in the war mentality of David. Abba, we ask that you give us the wisdom of Solomon. We ask that you give us the vision of Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Daniel. We ask that you give us the strength of Paul. We ask that you give us the vision of John. We ask that you let us sacrifice our life as your son, Yeshua the HaMashiach. We ask that you let us become complete and whole as your son, Yeshua the HaMashiach. We ask that you continue to let us walk in obedience as Peter. We ask that you continue to let us be faithful as Rachel. We ask that you give us the anointing as Ruth. We ask that you continue to strengthen us and guide us and move us as our forefathers.
Yes.
Because we're getting ready to go through some difficult time. And we need all their character traits to be able to help us to make it through this bush, through this time period that we're getting ready to go through. We ask that you continue to let us be led and guided through your words. And all these things we pray in your higher name. So let it be. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Love y'all. Y'all have a good one.
All the voices in my head won't stop it. My only company, my only company. Blood off my hands, the judgment coming fast, too much blood on his lane. The second exodus is about to happen, he ain't playing. He's sending out the winds on this rock, we gon' stand. We gon' trust the sun lane. This the final album, was disconnected from the source, we done found the power. Messiah built the church back, gotta trust the founder. The carpenter, got the father with him, ain't no stopping you. Protected by the winds, if you got his help with you. Stand on the narrow, the father gon' provide, y'all his eyes on the sparrow. Never seen the righteous get forsaken, not at all. The devil trying to take us cause he know he about to fall. And Michael standing up in his hour, keep the laws. We gon' blow the trumpet, we ain't go to war at all. Messiah made a way, he laid it down for our flaws. We got the father with his eye all that time. Protecting these commands, they at war with him. The dragon man cause the remnant about to score with him. The children of the prophets, we don't finally hockey. The law is the light, got us out the darkness. Return to the farm, ain't no other options. We let Messiah in, we done heard him knocking. Worthy is the labor, ain't no better time, surrender all right now. Ain't no looking back, you ain't lot white, hell no. Fit for the kingdom, ain't no way that he gon' fail y'all. Training up his kids, ain't no way we gon' derail y'all. The devil making war with the saints, man, they smell y'all. We gon' go to war about these commandments to the end. Protect my father word, this ain't no game, this ain't pretend. Messiah coming back, we study yet and I repeat. The angels on the corner, finally blowing out the wings. Ain't no other way to get protected but the blow. I'll put your mercy and your grace around us. Keeping these commandments cause we know that's real love. Building up this ark cause you sent it out the flood. What you see is hand upon this land, it's time to leave. Sodom and Gomorrah out of order, time to flee. Babylon gon' burn, every nation about to see. Messiah coming back, everybody